right, wrap it up. Wrap it up. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was terrible. It was supposed to be Space Lord by Monster Magnet, because that is the song that is currently stuck in my head, and I thought, for reasons that make absolutely no sense to anyone except for me in the moment, that, that would be a great way to open the podcast. So, yeah, I'm doing a podcast now. It is Teal Hat Radio. This is something a little different, something I'm trying out for fun, and maybe something will come of it, maybe nothing will come of it. I do plan on eventually getting a proper podcast channel over on someplace like, say, Buzzsprout or Podbean. Most likely Podbean, the way things are going right now. I mean, I've looked at prices for unlimited hosting and all the other good stuff and all the other goodies that come with it, and our rates are competitive, just that whole thing. So, I'm looking into it right now. In the meantime, I'm going to be hosting these podcast episodes here on YouTube, which somebody has assured me was a good idea, possibly a better idea than Podbean or Buzzsprout, because, everybody's on YouTube, but I would just say that I don't want to spend my whole time copy-pasting this image in the video editor and just over and over and over again and making sure the sound is in sync, I say in sync like there's going to be more pictures. Although, if we're doing this in a video format, would more pictures be better? Comment below and find out, and tell me what you think. I said find out almost, because, whatever. But you know what I mean. Comment below and tell me if you think this could use more pictures, if we're going to do this in a video format, or if you're just content with seeing the video, just content with, audio only, and, just having the little Teal Hat logo here like it is, I've seen podcasts on YouTube, and I've seen podcast clips and all that stuff, and usually they just have a still image. So I think that might be the route I go for this, so that's what we're going to try. One thing I'm going to do for sure is I'm probably going to pull out the keytar and maybe do a keytar version of that jingle at the beginning, because, like I said, the ocarina version's annoying, so I got 200 noises to choose from on that keytar. Well, technically 198, 197, because I think a few of them are drum kits, but all the same, that many noises, surely one of them can't possibly suck, right? Oh, man. But enough meandering. I'm going to get to some topics here on my list here. For example, did you know that South Park is spelling its name with a Q now? Huh? I wonder what that could be referencing. God, I hate QAnon so much. Okay, I'm just going to say this right now before I get too far into this. I'm going to try, the keyword is try, to be as apolitical as possible. That's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to at least try, because I don't want to be that guy who spends his whole time talking politics, You're coming onto this podcast for, movie discussion, for TV discussion, just whatever Tommy Teal Hat feels like talking about discussion. You don't want to hear me spend an entire half hour of a podcast time bitching about Donald Trump or something. I mean, what is this, the Jim Cornette experience? Oh, zing! But seriously, we're going to at least try to not get too deep into politics. I mean, between the fact that, you don't go to a guy who reviews movies for your political opinions. You shouldn't, anyway. Also, because if you really want my political opinion, fuck the Democrats and Republicans alike, especially the Republicans, but fuck the Democrats too. I prefer the third party scene, because the third parties generally cater to guys like me a lot more than the blue team or the red team ever did. I announced out loud that I voted Green Party in 2020, and if I was a much bigger YouTuber and if I had much more of a following, I guarantee I'd have probably lost that following overnight, because fuck you, Biden is the savior. You just doomed us all to death and decay as far as the eye can see, you fucking loser. At least that's what happened when... That's what I saw when everybody else who voted Green Party admitted out loud they voted Green Party. Twitter just ravaged them. Twitter just unloaded on them because, Joe Biden is the Messiah. So, to which my response is, how about that $2,000 COVID check, huh? Yeah, they reduced it down to $1,400 and there's no $15 minimum wage, but... Joe Biden is still the Wunderkind, right? He's still the savior. And I just pissed off the universe, so I'm not going to get into politics. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to get as far into politics as I can in order to talk about South Park, because you kind of can't really talk about South Park without talking about politics to a degree, because they tackle some political issues. For example, they portray QAnon in the new vaccination special. I just gotta say, I'm not surprised that the whites ended up in QAnon, but... oh boy, the whites. I mean, if there's anything about South Park that kind of makes me cringe, it's pretty much the whites these days, It's like... I understand South Park is offensive, I understand everybody's offended, and... bravo, guys, it took you 22 seasons before you found something that offended me personally to any amount of degree, and... I'm not even offended so much. It's just that, I know so many people like the whites, and, the whole thing about, well, Hillary Clinton would have been much worse is kind of the thing I've been saying politically on Facebook, and my personal Facebook, not any Tommy Teal hat Facebook or anything like that. It's like just the concept of the whites just, I can't believe, it's like, okay, guys, the horse is dead. We get it, okay? Just, it's not funny anymore. Well, you're just saying that because you're offended. Maybe I am, but it's like... South Park does kind of have this really bad habit of kind of beating dead horses from time to time. Like, if I could give them one criticism, they have this habit of taking a joke and just running it into the ground. Like, the whole thing with their NASCAR episode about how Cartman wanted to be a NASCAR driver, but he can't because he's not poor and stupid enough, That was funny at the beginning of the episode, but by the end of the episode, I was thinking, okay, guys, the horse is dead. You might want to move on now. And it's a criticism I'm sure they've heard plenty of times, and I'm pretty sure even they themselves have made that, kind of reference that criticism, kind of like how in the quarantine special, they made a whole bunch of like fourth wall breaks where it's like Randy is naming his latest crop of weed the quarantine special, and they're saying nobody needs a quarantine special right now. Yes, it will make you money, but it's tasteless. It's not the kind of thing you should be doing in these trying times, that sort of deal. And that's really all I have to say about the whites, really, is that it's... I wouldn't say I'm offended by it, but there are some elements about it that do kind of make me like, okay, guys, yeah, you made your point. Can we move on to something funnier now? The horse is dead on this one. And not surprising in the slightest, those guys are in QAnon now because, of course they are. Let's just bang on that dead horse a little more, why don't we? The episode also featured Mr. Garrison coming back after being the Donald Trump allegory for the better part of 4 or 5 years, give or take. And, when I hear about Matt Stone and Trey Parker and what they wanted to do, I could totally see it because, like myself and like a lot of people at the time, they thought Donald Trump was basically that election cycle's joke candidate, Every election cycle has a joke candidate. Like in 2016, we all thought it was Donald Trump, but considering he actually won, I'm thinking maybe this go around, maybe it was Ben Carson. I don't know. Like, I know in 2012 it was Rick Perry. 2008, I think it was Fred Thompson. In 2004, I want to say Al Sharpton, but maybe it was Howard Dean. Howard Dean was definitely the more memorable of those two, for sure, but I don't know. All I know for sure is, every candidate, every election cycle has its joke candidate, and we all thought Donald Trump was going to be the joke candidate in 2016, but then the joke candidate ended up winning, and look where we are now. Moral of the story, don't vote for the joke candidate. I know it sounds funny, but this is what happens when you nominate the joke candidate president, it's just, yeah. So they had the episode planned out where Mr. Garrison, Mr. Garrison loses, he comes back home and he has to face up to all the stupid shit that he was saying as the Donald Trump allegory, but then Donald Trump won, and it's like, fuck, now what do we do? So what we do is we wait for Donald Trump to come out of office, and fortunately for people who actually wanted to see something done about COVID, it ended up happening. Joe Biden won, even though he was not the guy I voted for, but, whatever. I'm not going to get into politics, like I said, but Joe Biden won. So now they finally get to do their episode where Mr. Garrison comes home and has to face up to all the stupid shit he said and did on the campaign trail and in the White House and all that. And it's basically everything you thought it was going to be, although I will admit I was not expecting him to have Mr. Service with him, but minor detail. That stuff was pretty amusing. The four boys in South Park were focused primarily on their bromance or broship or whatever it's called now. Like their polyamorous brocell, But it was this thing, that was probably I don't want to say it was the weakest element of the story, but, it was probably the part that I was the least interested in. But that being said, it still had its moments of hilarity. The fact that the Walgreens got turned into the hottest spot on earth, and it basically looked like a nightclub, and, 79 bitches! That was probably my favorite part of that entire thing, the whole way they were treating the Walgreens as the nightclub. Oh, and the banter between the news correspondents, Chris and Tom, how they were basically getting into a fight over whether they supported the community kids or the little cuties, spelled with a Q, it's in order to distinguish themselves from that movie on Netflix, probably, or maybe a QAnon. And they have their reasons, I'm sure, whatever, but, it's the fight between the two of them, and then the anchors are weighing in, and they're calling each other, fuckface and dipshit and all that other stuff, That was probably my favorite part of the whole thing right there, just those guys just laying into each other. Overall, I thought the vaccine special was pretty good. I thought it was a really good show. Great time for one and all. We really could use a laugh, and we could really use something that actually takes shots at everybody as opposed to just taking shots at the red hats, because, it really hasn't occurred to anybody that the more you lay into them, the more they're going to double down, So I just love the show. I loved the show. Was it better than the quarantine special? I don't think you could really. How do I say this? Basically, I would say they're equal. They're equal in terms of greatness. I laughed just as much at the vaccination special as I did at the quarantine special. I would probably give the quarantine special maybe a decimal point higher rating than the vaccine special because it didn't feature the whites, but that's all I could really say. I mean, all in all, I'd say check out the vaccination special. It's totally worth it. Speaking of HBO Max, okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, not to mention, as long as we're talking about stuff that's on HBO Max, let's talk about stuff that's coming up on HBO Max here in the not too horribly distant future. Now, I'm not really huge on superhero content these days. The one positive thing I can say about 2020 is that we finally got a break from all this fucking superhero Marvel DC stuff, you know, like, I don't hate superhero movies by any stretch of the imagination. I love superheroes. I love Batman, Superman. I love Spider-Man. I love the X-Men, you know. I love the Hulk, you know. I love Green Lantern. I love all of them, you know. Some more than others, admittedly, but I don't hate superheroes. I'm just burnt out on superheroes at the moment because for the last decade, like, the 2010s basically brought superheroes to the forefront. Like, they were the flavor of a generation. They weren't just flavor of the month. They were, like, big time, you know. We had superhero movies when I was in high school and in college, but compared to what it was in the 2010s with Marvel putting out blockbuster after blockbuster and DC trying so desperately to keep up, and maybe Image Comics had a guy or two in there somewhere as well. I wasn't really paying much attention. But, you know, compared to the 2010s, stuff in high school was generally, I don't want to say reserved, but, like, you didn't get it as often, you know? Like, you knew it was going to be either a really good movie or a really terrible movie because, you know, you ended up with movies like the Spider-Man movies, which were really good, or you ended up with something like, what's one of the bad ones? Yeah, a lot of people will tell you Daredevil. I didn't hate Daredevil, personally. Ang Lee's The Incredible Hulk. That one, I remember that one being pretty bad. So let's use that as an example. It's been eons since I've seen it, but I remember when I saw it, I hated it. But I will say, it was a crapshoot. It was always a crapshoot. You never knew what you were going to get. But it was never going to be boring. Whereas a lot of the movies in the 2010s, it kind of reached a point where it's like, they felt boring, you know? Like, a lot of the stuff going on screen looks really cool, and in concept, it really should be cool, but everything is just so boring and cookie cutter with superhero movies now, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, at least in the case of Marvel, you know, Disney is running everything, and Disney does not like to take risks. Disney has a happy ending fetish where, like, everything has to have a happy ending. There's no room for dark. There's no room for ambiguity. There's no room for anything. Everything has to be wrapped up. If it takes more than one movie, fine, but everything has to have a happy ending. Everybody holds hands under the fucking rainbow, etc., you know. DC and Warner Brothers, I will give them credit for at least trying, you know. DC is like the opposite side of the spectrum, where everything is like dark and gritty, and everything is all brown and grody looking, you know, like... And that works fine for Batman, although I do have my beef with Christopher Nolan and the Dark Knight trilogy. But we'll get to that another time. Just dark and gritty works fine for some guys. Like, it worked for Batman. They made it work for Green Arrow, although in my defense, I know screw all about Green Arrow, other than he's DC's Hawkeye, basically. Or maybe Green Arrow came first and Hawkeye was Marvel's Green Arrow. Whatever, you know what I mean? But, like, he's their resident bow and arrow guy, is what I'm trying to say. That's all I really knew about him. He could be, like, super fucking campy, like, holy inferno, Batman, that volcano's going off. Or he could be, like, grim and dark like the Punisher. For all I do and care. But, like, you know, that was where it worked. But then you got to, like, other stuff like Man of Steel. I'm not the biggest Superman fan on the planet, but I can tell you forthright that Superman is not dark and gritty. Superman is the feel-good story, you know? Like, if anything has to have the happy ending fetish, it would probably be Superman. But I digress. We're getting into a very obscure DC property, maybe. It's not one I'm especially familiar with. I'm probably going to say, you know, Zatanna is a super obscure DC property, and they're going to be, like, all sorts of comments. They're like, actually, Zatanna's one of the most popular heroines in DC history. You'd know that if you weren't stupid. You know, it's like, whatever. But, yeah, Zatanna, she's not one of the heroes I know a whole lot about. I know she did a guest appearance on Batman the Animated Series where, like, you know, she teamed up with Batman. And based on that episode, I can tell you for sure that Zatanna is a magician and she's got legs for days. And that's basically all I can tell you for sure about Zatanna. I don't know anything else. I've heard tale that she's like an actual magician in the comic books. Like, she can actually do, like, real magic, not, like, phony stage magic like Chris Angel or David Blaine kind of stuff. Which is fine, I guess, you know, like, I would love to see, like, real magic, but I also love to see a superhero that doesn't actually have any super magic and wins the battle using stage tricks and escapist tricks, you know, like the whole Houdini escaping from a straitjacket thing, or, you know, like flash paper to the face, you know, that sort of stuff. I would love to see that too. I don't know what Zatanna is going to be, but I'm looking forward to it. I'll tell you what I'm not looking forward to, though. I've got it here in my notes, so I know for a fact that I am staying on topic. Yep. What I'm not looking forward to is the Snyder Cut, and oh boy, this has been an exciting saga, hasn't it? The Snyder Cut. I don't hate Zack Snyder the person. Okay, like, Zack Snyder the person is fine, you know. And I understand why he left production of the Justice League when he did, because of events that took place. That's tragic, but I understand why he did it. You know, I'm not going to be one of those fucking lunatics who goes on a rant about that. Trust me, I'm not that guy. I've never been that guy, even when I was that guy. But that being said, I don't think I've liked a single DC Universe movie that Zack Snyder has worked on. You know, I think I've already talked about Man of Steel, like, just, you know, making Superman a dark and gritty thing, that doesn't work for Superman. Like, I can appreciate a little grit and a little darkness here and there on certain things, but that's the last thing I expect from Superman. Like, that works for Batman just fine. Like I said, it works for Arrow just fine. Maybe if you made a movie about The Question, you could kind of give it that gritty kind of film noir. Everything is filmed through this murky brown filter, like somebody peed in the camera or something, you know. But it just doesn't work for Superman. It really doesn't at all. And don't even get me started on the train wreck that Superman versus Batman was. Like, you had potential to make something great, but my God, that movie was just so bad. The Justice League movie was pretty bad too, but a lot of people are convinced that it was not Zack Snyder's fault. It was the fault of the movie studio for basically putting somebody else in charge. I think it was Joss Whedon who got put in charge. And Joss Whedon, he does a lot of the Marvel movies, I think, and I think that's kind of another pet peeve I have about the Marvel movies, is that virtually everything in the last few Marvel movies have been so goddamn jokey joke, her. It's like, it kind of takes away from the severity of the situation. Like, there's banter between heroes and their sidekicks, that's fine, you know, but, like, Spider-Man is the only smartass, you know. When everybody is a smartass and when everybody has the witty comeback, it kind of gets really old really fast. That's like Joss Whedon's big thing. And you're going to put that in something that was like 3/4 of the way finished, and you're going to insert Joss Whedon in there. It's like, I can see how that ended up being a disaster. But the thing that I'm thinking right now is Zack Snyder, the Snyder Cut. What makes you people think it's going to be a different movie? Like, it's literally going to be the same fucking Justice League movie. Like, maybe there's going to be some different... there's going to be some changes, obviously. Like, there's going to be, like, some different cinematography, maybe. Maybe there's going to be some deleted scenes. Maybe there's going to be something that explains why this happened or why that happened, whereas in the original cut, it just kind of happened just 'cause. But it's the same movie. It's literally the same movie. And I just gotta say, if it wasn't good the first time, why do you think it's going to be good the second time? Like the XFL, you know? The XFL was this football league that got started in 2001. Maybe you're not into football, but hear me out on this example. The XFL was this football league that started in 2001. It was an absolute disaster from start to finish. I'd almost say it was an even bigger disaster than the AAF, say for the fact that the XFL actually got to finish an entire season, but the XFL was a disaster from start to finish. And then somewhere in 2018, 2019, in that area, they got the brilliant idea to dig up the XFL and try again. Because it worked so great the first time, we're just going to do it again. Except no, it didn't work the first time. It fucking sucked the first time. And now we're going to do it again. We're going to make a few tweaks to it, obviously. We're obviously not going to even attempt to get an upskirt shot of the cheerleader like we did the first time around, because everybody's sensitive about that now. But, you know, actually that's a valid comment. You know, that's actually something you shouldn't have done the first time. Don't cancel me, I'm just saying. But still, you know, it's like they're going to make a few changes, but it's basically the same stank product it was last time. Why would you ever be interested in this again? You know, and that's what the Snyder Cut is to me. It's basically rebooting the XFL. I like the new XFL. Well, okay, fine. So, you like the new XFL, whatever. More power to you. And I've been noticing on Twitter that a lot of people are suddenly trying and offering up the opportunity to give Zack Snyder the most delectable of blowjobs for thank you for giving me the Snyder Cut. Oh my god, it's so much better than the original Justice League. Oh, you have saved us. Oh Lord, I repent. I repent for ever doubting you, Zack Snyder. Praise the Snyder Cut. Praise him. No. It is going to take a lot more than some randos on Twitter trying to convince me of this. In fact, this kind of reminds me of what happened with Wonder Woman 84, which I haven't seen yet. I planned on doing kind of a late to the party kind of review, but I might watch it and I might include it in my best or worst of 2021 maybe, as an honorable mention. But I haven't seen it yet. But from what I've seen, like, before the movie premiered, all these people were just lining up. They were talking about how great this movie was and how amazing it was, how it was going to revolutionize superheroes, and how they all basically wanted to eat out the woman who directed it, you know. They wanted to go down on her and praise her for the opportunity, you know. Great Wonder Woman movie. Then the movie actually released, and suddenly, holy shit, everybody hates this movie now. It was a complete and total 180. It's like, wow, that was fast. Like, you guys were literally singing this movie's praises. You were singing this director's praises a minute ago, and then the movie actually came out, and holy shit. Just the anger, the vitriol, just wow. And I have a feeling that's going to be the case with the Snyder Cut. Like, I have a feeling that a lot of the people who are praising this movie, who are praising the Snyder Cut, they're either not authentic Twitter accounts, you know, they're bots probably, or they haven't really seen the Snyder Cut and maybe somebody handed them like $50, you know. Or maybe these guys are just the vocal minority, you know. These are the people, they've been wanting the Snyder Cut since hashtag release the Snyder Cut was trending on Twitter, you know. And they liked it, so fine, you know. If they like it, they like it. I'm not gonna jump down your throat and kick out your guts about it, but it's gonna take a lot more than changing the director, and, you know, it's gonna take a lot more to convince me that Justice League is gonna be a good movie the second time around, because I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that Zack Snyder can save this movie. I think the smart thing we needed to do was just bury this movie. Just bury it, leave it alone, let it die, move on with our lives, maybe go back to doing what we were doing, where like everybody got their own individual movies. Like you got the Wonder Woman movie, which was meh, I guess. I didn't really hear. Like, there's a lot of people who talk about how great the movie is, but I wonder if they thought the movie was actually great, or if it was more that "you go girl, break the glass ceiling" narrative, which I haven't seen. So I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. But I've heard nothing but negative things about 84. But the first movie I've heard pretty good things about. You know, you could do a Wonder Woman movie. You could do the Joker, which I did see. I actually did see that one. I liked it. I think I actually put it in my best of 2019. That's how much I liked it. Yeah. You could do a Cyborg movie. You know, that's... I think they're going to be making a Cyborg movie here, you know. Zatanna, you know, get Zatanna a shot at her own series, you know. That's the thing I'd like to see more of, and I'd like to see a lot less of this release the Snyder cut or release the MCG cut for Terminator Salvation or whatever that was trying to trend and ride the coattails of hashtag release the Snyder cut. It's like, no, your movie sucked the first time. You're not going to convince me to go see it a second time just because you did a few tweaks with the thing or you added in a few new scenes that weren't in the original cut. No, your movie still sucks. Bite me. Okay. I have pissed off the universe. Wouldn't be the first time. And that's going to do it for the list here. I've run out of items to talk about. Admittedly, I kind of slapped this list together. I only had like a few days of topics to talk about. Also, I kind of want to save some things for the Netflix review show, Hatflix and Chill, which you can find on Tommy Teal Hat over on YouTube. I've been kind of neglecting that series the last couple of weeks, partly because of YouTube fatigue and just... I feel like I should have kept going because Tom and Jerry, the review of Tom and Jerry got such positive reception, like 3 likes, 9 views. That was something to behold. But I just couldn't build up the motivation to do a movie review of anything on Netflix. I couldn't do the audio drama review I was planning on doing. That's a whole other can of worms I might go into at another time because I think I'm kind of running out of time here. Suffice to say, I do want to keep doing Netflix reviews, maybe do some audio drama reviews now that I have a good enough resource, I think. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I know people hate it when you burp in the microphone, but that one refused to stay down. What can I say? But, yeah, anyway. Honestly, the last couple of weeks, there has been nothing on Netflix that really told me this would make a good video review. Like, there have been a couple of new things that came out, like Murder Among the Mormons, I think is what it was called, and Mormons fascinate me, you know? Mormons are a very fascinating lot, but I don't usually do a lot of documentaries, and it looked like a documentary when I saw the trailer, when I saw a bit of the trailer, not the whole trailer, I have to say. I was kind of skimming, looking for the new thing. Murder Among the Mormons looked interesting, I guess. Netflix was advertising this movie called Moxie on my email. Like, they emailed me and said, you might like this movie Moxie, but then I immediately lost interest when I heard the words death to the patriarch. It's like, oh god, it's going to be one of those movies. Netflix, just stop. You're not good at this. Just stop, please. I say all that knowing full well I haven't watched Moxie yet. I might even make that the review of the week, you know? I might do that. Stay tuned to my Twitter profile for news regarding what I might be reviewing and just other babble that didn't make it into the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at TommyTealHat, because it's the YouTube etiquette. I have to mention that like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, you know, validate my existence, remind me that I matter, etc. And I don't really have a closing jingle. And after that opening jingle with the ocarina, I think we are going to forego that, or I'm going to try something else jingle-wise. So, I'm just going to end the podcast here. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I do plan on doing a couple more of these. After maybe like episode 2 or 3, I might check and see what the ratings are. Well, I'm going to be checking the ratings after I upload this to YouTube, too. This one here to YouTube. But, you know, if the ratings dictate that people are interested, I'll keep doing it. If the ratings dictate otherwise, I might just move this thing over to Podbean, and you'll never hear from it here on YouTube ever again. So, we'll see where the voyage takes us. In the meantime, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.